A lengthy meal break, it was time to come all the way down again. Stage 6 began under suspension until the worst of the hills were passed. But the riders had decided not to hurry the 74 kilometres back to Noangarup. They were happy to help each other through the strong crosswinds and happy to leave the Stirling Ranges behind. The first attack came from Matthew White. He struck out to take the intermediate sprint and increase his chances of taking home the Sprint King's jersey. And then the rain came again. This was the most miserable stage of the tour, with the wind, rain and cold working against tired legs as they pushed to the finish line, still 50 kilometres away. By the halfway mark, the weather had cleared. White also took the second sprint, and perhaps hoping to pounce while the New South Welshman rested his legs, a break came, ominously led by Gavin Parsonage, Chris Allen and Henk Vogels. Parsonage and Vogels made a bid for victory with 10 kilometres to go, but were pulled back by White and Trini. Parsonage countered with a winning solo effort into Noangarup, narrowly holding on from Vogels, Trini and White. The WA long-distance champion then revealed how he tried to keep warm in the bitter cold.
Yeah, it was pretty cold there for a while. Full of the papers.
Oh, newspaper under the...
Yeah.
Did it do any good?
Yeah, it kept me warm.
Oh, hard day. It was only a short stage, but it was all day was in the crosswinds. We had atrocious weather out on the road with the rain. And yeah, it was only small groups coming in all day, so we had to do a hell of a lot of work this afternoon. And after such a hard climb this morning, a lot of guys felt it.
No one was able to really hide in that crosswind, were they?
No, not at all. That's why this tour is so hard, because there's nowhere to hide in the tour. You know, it's very exposed roads and undulating area, so it's nowhere to hide, is there?
I ran out of legs at the finish there, I think. So it's a long day, but there's another day tomorrow. And, you know, I haven't won a road stage yet, so that's just another thing I'm looking forward to.
Gavin Parsonage had won his first stage of the 1994 Classic in the official time of 1 hour, 56 minutes and 44 seconds. But Henk Vogels still led the general classification. Hilton McMurdo had been forced to withdraw with an infection, and Matthew White now held second place ahead of Parsonage and Trini. At the start of the third and final day, the remaining 30 riders prepared for stage 7, between two of the most historic towns in the Great Southern, Tamballup and Cranbrook. The rain had gone, but the morning was cold. Henk Vogels, the world's #2 amateur, had led for the last 4 stages. Its obvious favourite to take the tour and the $3,000 first prize. Matthew White had proved himself a quality sprinter, but was 1 minute 14 behind Vogels and would have a tough fight to take the yellow jersey back to Sydney. Gavin Parsonage was third. His strong stage 5 left him 1:42 from the lead, but still capable of splitting the field. Outstanding local junior Daniel Trini was some distance back on 2:18, with Chris Allen at 4:43 and Chris Brown on 4:46, both with a lot of work ahead or needing a lot of good fortune for them to take out the tour with only 2 stages and 165 kilometres to go. The riders were in no hurry over 10 laps of the Tambalup circuit, but as they headed south on the open road, it was former Australian representative Matthew Poyner who led a three-man breakaway. Victorian professional Darren Gowdy was close behind. Gowdy soon bridged the gap with Poyner, Harris and Lack, and being 7th on the general classification and having the most to gain, drove the breakaway group onto the intermediate sprint at 31 kilometres. Gowdy's 6-second bonus was enough to move him into 6th place ahead of Brett Dennis. The chasing pack picked up the pace and closed on the leaders, but with 10 kilometres to go, it seemed the winner was to come from the lead group. In the sprint to the line, it was Poyner who led the way to become the first rider to win 2 stages of the tour. And was he a happy man?
That's my 2nd stage win, and no one's won 2 stages yet. We've still got a stage to go, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
But, you know, in a race like the Squires, it's getting to be as big as the Golden West Tour, which is in Queensland, and there's a lot more prestige for a stage win, you know.
I came 2nd on this stage last year, and but I went one worse this time, so unfortunately. But it's a long stage. It was a long stage last year as well.
Yeah, there was a few boys foxing this morning stage. We sort of let a group go away. That no one was a threat on GC. We brought them back towards the end, so they didn't get much time gap. But yeah, it's all going to happen today out on the road. There's no need to ride negative. I wouldn't mind another stage win myself. So, and the climb's going to suit me coming into Cochin up this afternoon. So, give it a go.
Matthew Poyner's time for stage 7 was 1 hour, 21 minutes and 47 seconds, but his general classification time of almost 16 minutes gave him little chance of winning the tour. In the general classification, Henk Vogels held a lead of 1 minute 14 over Matthew White, with Gavin Parsonage third. For the WA amateur, it was time to pull on the yellow again. A steady ride over the final stage, and the $3,000 prize was his. The 8th and final stage took the riders 113 kilometres from Cranbrook back to Kojonup, where the tour had started. They began with 10 laps of the town. Vogels and Chris Brown made a break and soon led by half a lap. But 10 turned into 11 for the leaders when they failed to turn onto the main road. The pack was on its way to Kojonup without them, and the 2 West Australians weren't happy about the extra work they had to do to catch up. No rider was applying pressure until Chris Anning broke clear after 10 kilometres. The WA rider was still in front as he took the first sprint money approaching Tambalup. But front running proved tough on his own, and Anning was swallowed up by the rest of the field with just over 50 kilometres behind them and 60 more to go. The turn at Broome Hill left 70 kilometres to go with crosswinds, and, as expected, riders started to make their moves. Steve Lack was first, in company with Kevin Behan. 5 kilometres later, the leaders had been caught, and the pace slowed as the riders battled into a headwind. Henk Vogels sat at the front and let the field know he was the one to beat. Gavin Parsonage broke up a hill, but couldn't leave the pack behind, and he soon made way for Darren Gowdy. With 30 kilometres left in the tour, White went to the lead and then took the intermediate sprint, making certain he'd take home the sprinter's jersey. White had a good lead and a strong finish would see him clinch second place.
25 to go. Got good legs, so yeah, have another go later.
Vogels then applied the pressure, but within 5 kilometres he'd been caught. The sprint to the finish began as the riders closed on Kojana. After over 100 kilometres, a climb up the main street found riders with tired legs and none could get a break. But a downhill sprint set the leaders up for a fast, tight finish. They raced to the line at 80 kilometres per hour. Dennis, Vogels, White, Sanders, Allen. And first over the line, a tired Darren Gardy.
No one could break away, and up the climb, it was really hard. Guys were going off the back. I'm not going off the back myself and just managed to hang in there. And the finish was a downhill finish, and we're just screaming down there, and I just had a bit more top speed. And
I don't think I actually won a tour here in Perth before, but I mean, it's great to win at home. I've only won one tour overseas. To come home and win here is even better.
Yeah, it was hard to catch Hank on the last stage. I had a bit of a go after that sprint, but it was just a bit too far out, so...
You made quite a valiant attempt there. I thought for a second that, well, you know, you might look, you're looking strong and you had a couple of downhills there. You're looking all right.
Yeah, it was a bit undulating, but more sort of... I had to put a minute 30 into Hank, and there was a lot of riders back there who could have chased, 20 riders, so I thought it was only just at a minute and it was too undulating, If I'd been caught by the bunch and Gavin passed, just snapped over the top, I could have lost my second place overall, so I rode a little bit more defensive, but it paid off in the end.
Darren Gardy was happy to win the final stage after his second placing for stage 7. He rode the 113 kilometres in 3 hours, 6 minutes and 46 seconds, beating Gavin Parsonage and Matthew White. But the tour belonged to Henk Vogels, who had led for the last 5 stages, and admitted he was not confident of winning until the last 5 kilometres. Matthew White took a slice of the prize money back to Sydney with his overall second placing and the Sprint King award, which he won from Chris Brown. So Henk Vogels became the second winner of the Classic and was able to look forward to the chance of more prize money in the East Coast races in weeks to come. Vogels was also part of the winning team. White and Parsonage, second and third, also showed their quality, and the Great Southern look forward to seeing them return in 1995.
Held last week in